All right, all right. We'll give everybody a minute to jump on. Jim, how are you? I'm glad the 110-degree weather has broke, my friend.
Oh man, 90 felt like, or 95 felt like fall.
It sure did. It was like, whoo. And then I was reminded when I walked the dog with no shoes on that the concrete's still pretty doggone hot. All right. I'm assuming Erika's joining. We like to start on time. So Jim, you and I are here. Let's roll. Let me get the numbers pulled up here. Any feeling out there in the marketplace before I pull these up?
Yeah, I wrote down one note. I wrote down several notes, but the last note I wrote was, we're here. We're in it.
Okay, what's that mean?
It means everything we've been talking about. Be making extra calls, be filling that pipeline, because we're in a shifting market. It's shifted. Like last week, and looking at the demand or the buyer foot traffic, we're in it. And I think we'll kind of see it in the some of the numbers for this week, or if we don't see it this week, we're going to see it next week. But the average showing last week, or average listing last week, got 2 showings for Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
And then this weekend, it went down to 1.5. Just a huge drop off. Even when we started really going up in interest rates back in May, we were sitting at about 4 or 5, and we've been really consistent there. And it was just all of a sudden cut.
Yeah. What's interesting is I played a video for the top 10% mastermind last week, and just kind of summarizing it. There's a big debate. Like, are we in a recession? Are we going into a recession? Is there going to be a recession? I think everybody, you're going to talk tempo, you're going to get 10 opinions. I think my opinion is we are seeing signs of it, and we are headed straight for it. I don't see how there's a way to avoid that with the way the economics of the US are right now. And the way that I think we should all think about it is it's actually pretty healthy. It's a way of balancing our economy when we've been living in excess through this pandemic with just crazy property growth. So if you've sold real estate in the past 2 years, you understand that it's been crazy, and there was always going to be a day of reckoning. But it's really just going to be a balance. It's going to be a balancing. And but of course, you can ask 10 more people and get 10 different answers, right? So that's mine. Anybody else want to throw a comment before we roll? Erika, you were late.
I know, I was having a little technical difficulty.
All right, we're gonna roll. So Rockwall County, 228. We had seen that inventory in 6 months.
Yeah.
Or more. So yes, that number is gonna keep climbing. We're gonna keep saying it. However, man, that's your opportunity. Those are people ready, willing to sell. Go put a deal together. And the more this number is, the less fighting on big multiple offers will end up being, right? We understand that's the supply and the demand of it all. Active option 29, pretty normal. Pending 59, pretty normal. 58 on the solds, kind of holding its own. If you look at a 3-week average, we're hurting a little bit, but I don't know. 4th of July week had 90 closings. So I think we're still, like we said, Jim, I keep saying, like, it's hard to show it on paper right now, but we know it. Phil Collins said it best, in the air tonight. It's out there, right? Like, we know it's coming. Anything on Rockwall? All right. No. Dallas County, it's got 1,296 active listings, 496 pending, and 504 sold. Pretty healthy numbers down here on the pendings and solds. It is midsummer. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the last chance to get a good interest rate, last chance to sell your house for a good price. Not truths, but there's people that think that, which is creating some temporary motivation. If I jump over to Collin County, 1,041 active, 193 option, 312 pending, 318 sold. Still some pretty healthy numbers, a little bit down in Collin County though. I think we were hitting some higher numbers earlier, but like I said, it's going to move up and down over the next 30 days. The real telltale sign is when school goes back,
Yep.
what will the numbers look like then? And that's where I think we'll see the first crack in the shield, if you will.
Yeah,
Any
and
comment?
honestly, yeah, I'll say I think we're starting to see the cracks if you're really paying attention in
Yeah.
what the market is doing kind of on a micro level. Because I started breaking down those active option for Rockwall.
Yeah,
Anything above 500 is sitting.
Mhm.
We had a ton, I think 75-80% of those active option for Rockwall were under 500.
wow. Very cool. All right. Outside of the numbers, if I jump over to Henderson County's got 103 active, 21 pending, 27 sold. Those are still good numbers in the second half of the summer. I feel pretty good with those. So I pulled some numbers off of Matrix. Let me get my screen up here. And I thought this was interesting. So this is the last 7 days. There were last 7 days waterfront in Henderson County. So 2 coming soon. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 option, 2 canceled, and 3 closed. So in the last 7 days, and you kind of see the price range, 525, 800, 829. Those are good prices for 1,300 square feet, 1,800 square feet. Good information to just kind of keep your eye on out at the lake. All right, Jim, where'd it go? Hang on, I got too many windows open here, guys. Let me get there. MLS rules, hit me.
Yeah, so I've been I think we've all been kind of watching these lawsuits come through because they're going to affect everybody if by chance they end up going through. And so I thought it was really interesting that in the Northwest MLS, so we're getting up in kind of that Seattle and through Oregon and everything, some of the rules that they started putting in, or that they are putting in place. And one of the biggest ones was, for us, it would be moving the commission off of the very back page where it's outside of the signatures, right? So was that page 10, onto the very first page, and to be something that's negotiated on, right? And so I think this is a huge step in exactly what it's saying, correcting it to where we hopefully don't have any of these lawsuits and it's a negotiating point. But I think this goes even further to, you got to be able to describe what your value is and why you're worth that 3%. And you're not just somebody that's opening up doors, that you actually know what's in the contract. You're paying attention to it. You're not letting things slide by and create issues. Create value for yourself, because I think this is going to be something that starts trickling down to other MLSs.
Absolutely. I think somebody's going to find a working relationship that everybody feels good about, and then they model it, right?
Yep.
You see this in the legal world, in states and politics and that kind of thing. One state makes a change and then other states follow suit, right? And you're going to see that in as far as MLSs and boards of realtors. Yet somebody's going to take the fall first, and it's probably going to happen up there in that lawsuit, right? And we'll react accordingly, but it's certainly going to change the way we do business in the future. I absolutely agree with that. And all that being said, being crystal clear on the value you bring to the table has everything to do with how you navigate this conversation.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Super excited to say we talk recession, we can debate it all day long, yet the 10 most stable housing markets in the United States, we came in number 4. And here's what I would say to this, and I'll kick it to you guys. I had a friend saying, hey, I don't think we're having a recession. I don't think we're experiencing any disruption. And I said, well, sometimes in major metropolitan areas that have thriving economies, we're typically the last in and the first out. But that doesn't mean we're immune to it. Others will experience things first, but we're probably not going to be first in and last out. We'll be last in and first out because our economies thrive anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What would y'all add?
I know we've talked about it before. There's so many businesses centralizing their businesses here as far as transportation, as far as distribution. And with that comes jobs and movement into our area. So that helps when you're diverse. And so I think with organizations moving here, we do have such a diverse economy in DFW, one reason why we chose to move out here. So I do agree we're not immune to it. We may not feel it as hard as other parts of the country. However, we're going to feel it. But it is promising to know all the organizations that are moving out our direction because they're going to need a place to live.
Yep. Jim, what would you add?
That was perfect.
Yeah. All right. So I think it's important to know we're in such a thriving economy in Dallas-Fort Worth that it's a great place to be in the real estate industry, period.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tech Hub. Duquette, tell me more.
Yeah, so this is, I mean, it's interesting from the standpoint that you've got this bank moving outside of Canada that wants to do this major expansion through the United States and really lock into DFW. But what was really interesting is one of the references they made in here stating that the Dallas area is the #1 growing tech hub in the nation, right? So we talk about all this new industry coming in, and a lot of it has been in your warehouse and distribution because of where we're located.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's easy to kind of look past that. We do have a huge growing tech sector. And I started doing some more research as I was reading through this. And there are companies like Waymo that is autonomous driving. And they are changing the distribution world with 18-wheelers, making those autonomous. And so one of the things I didn't know that was in the works is they're trying to make an autonomous lane between Dallas and Houston. And it's been done elsewhere in the country just for these trucks, but they're already on the road. My wife with the Girl Scouts, they did a contract with them. And so they deliver their cookies to warehouses. So we're already seeing this start up in the Metroplex, and it's just going to get bigger. So
basically about, like a driverless trucks going down Interstate 45 between Dallas and Houston.
Yeah.
Look
up and you don't have a truck driver in there. It's just on its own, being monitored.
That's gonna feel amazing.
Yeah.
I'm safe.
Honestly, though, they've been trying to figure out this supply chain between Dallas and Houston for years. There was always potential of a train being built. I'm hearing that there's an enormous amount of development going on in Corpus Christi around harbors and the industry down there, which is just going to make that much more of a hub of distribution. And interesting. This is cool. But I think it just goes to show that there's going to be a need for industry in big cities. And it speaks to the last in, first out kind of theory, right? Like jobs and job growth and all that just thrives or drives our real estate economy. 10-year treasury, I like to keep it in front of us. If you just kind of look, this is probably the most closely related thing we can look at to track interest rates. So we are down from a month ago. So there was a big pressure. All that being said, I think this is going out the window a little bit on how interest rates are going, because the expectation, so nobody's taken off guard, is the Fed's going to jump another huge rate increase, 3/4 to a point. And that doesn't necessarily translate to a point interest rate change yet. It's coming, and we're expecting that. And that's what's going to need to happen to push us into recession, which we need to happen to balance our economy out. So just keeping an eye on it. All right. I was thinking about this over the weekend, these discount points. So if I was a buyer, and I just basically Googled, how do you understand discount points? This is on the Consumer Federal Protection Bureau. You can look up consumerfinance.government and ask, what are discount points? So you can understand it. But I want you to think about this. A year ago, if I bought a $400,000 house, how much cash would I have to have brought to the table over asking price to get into that house?
Well, there's a lot of variables that go in that answer, but I would say 10%.
I'm looking for a wild guess here.
40 grand.
40 grand, 10%.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it would cost me today to buy down an interest rate to the same interest rate I could have got a year ago?
$15. I don't even
Well,
know.
let's say I'm getting a loan for $350, so a point is 3,500. If I paid for 10 points, it would be $35,000. Nobody's buying 10 points. But the point I'm making is if you really understand apples to apples, hey, maybe we're talking people into cash over asking price was yesterday's opportunity of buying houses, but cash to discount points today is today's opportunity. And I guarantee you, they're actually getting into these houses cheaper today than they were a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, this is widening that perspective. Now, were they excited to pay 40 grand a year ago? No. Did they? Absolutely. The market told them they had to. Are they going to be excited to pay discount points? No. But the market's telling them they probably should. So I think there's some conversation here. One, you got to understand discount points. Two, you got to help them kind of see a broader perspective than, I don't want to pay 6% interest, which I don't think we're at 6 yet, but it's coming. I don't want to pay 6. Well, okay. Well, what would you pay? I'd pay 4. Okay, let's see what it would cost you to buy it down. And just so you know, comparatively, you probably would have had to pay double that just to get the same house last year. Oh, okay, that feels good. Let's go. This is sales 101, perspective, helping people see it. Are you following my logic? What do you think? I was thinking about this over the weekend. It's news, so shoot it down if it needs to be.
No, Brad, you got me really thinking about this after the mastermind last week, and Patty and I had some discussions on it. you know, outside of just having these one-on-one conversations with people, it's my thought process has been, how do you get people to understand this in a quick snippet?
Mhm.
You're trying to advertise to them, and that's where I'm trying to break this down. And
Into
I
the
don't know
mode.
either yet. Yeah.
Yeah, into
Yeah.
the messaging where people understand it. Because there's a lot of people in our industry that don't understand it. So definitely the average consumer is not going to. So getting the message across
Yeah.
where it's
Seen a
clear.
couple on social media, people putting like side by side comparison charts up, that I think have some viability to it, but I definitely think this conversation is going to evolve quickly, don't y'all?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it brings back what we keep driving home, which I'm guilty. I'm like Brett. I got the buyer consult signed when we were writing up the contract. I think it's going to solidify
Don't
that
say like Brett.
relationship.
Keep me out of it.
Well, okay, like Erika then,
Yeah.
but it'll solidify the value up front as we transition to possibly some of this commission talk, having this conversation up front with your buyer first, before you go and show. Like go and show right now, I see it all the time, where they're not having that consultation up front. But yeah, getting the message across, making sure there's lenders, what the parameters with certain lenders, because you definitely don't want to be putting this out there if you don't have a lender that can do it. So that's my first thought, is making sure we're fact checking with our lenders of like, hey, how many can they buy? Is there a limit? Is there this? Is there that? Like what the parameters are around that.
Yeah. And this is where I think this is where we have to educate ourselves. We have to be,
Mhm.
we have to take the responsibility on ourselves to go get the education, understand how to talk about this, understand how to position this. You know, here's where I think the difference lies. The amount of equity that was created in people's houses over the last couple of years, is going to give them more cash than they probably have had in the past to move to the next transaction. So there's going to be a lot of conversation, say, should I put less money down and buy the rate down, or should I put more money down? Or should I take the gamble of the rate today and bank on refinancing it 2-3 years from now? What's the gamble there? Or, you know, I mean, there's going to be lots of those conversations, but honestly, those are fun, cool conversations. Like you're helping people plan their life out. And it's not just, hey, you want to buy this pretty house, and oh, by the way, it's going to cost you 50 grand more. And let's get down and pray and make sure this thing goes through. I mean, like it's a little more business type conversation than that in the past.
Yeah.
All right, couple 2 things left. DR Horton had a rough June. I think that's short-lived.
Yeah.
I think builders are gonna, they love us again. We have this love-hate relationship with builders, of course. But I told the top agents on Friday, or whatever it was, Tuesday, I'd be putting everything I could put under new construction between now and the end of the year. I'm literally going to just crush my 2023 with a pipeline of new construction if I can get it all done today. And I think the builders are going to want that. There's going to be incentives. They're going to be excited. I think as we move into more of a recession, the supply chain will become more favorable to industry. I think this is short-lived. What do y'all think?
I agree. You got to think, gosh, it's changed so much just in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Now I know there's different lock-ins, the link, things like that. So I know that will help. And one thing I've noticed with builders, I talked to a builder rep actually this weekend, and they're getting aggressive. I mean, as far as buying down the rates, 20,000 off of sales prices, giving realtor incentives. So as quickly as they cut us out, they're getting more aggressive to put us back in the transaction. So I would have it as part of my morning routine is if you're not in relationships with some of these builder reps and know exactly what they're offering and where and what's available and time and things like that, spend some time investing in that. That way, when you're lead generating to your clients, you have good factual information to share, not just, well, I think this is happening, or I saw this. There's so much inventory with certain builders in certain areas.
Yep.
Then you can have your marketing around those areas, target market anyways. So you got to know, educate yourself right now around what they're offering and what's available, not just what we're saying on this call.
100%.
I don't know that it's completely inflation. I think, I mean, that always has something to do with it, but I really think you've got a large amount of inventory that came onto the market. Therefore, buyers have more to choose from. And on top of that, because more came onto the market, it created this little mini buyer's market for the short term, I think. And so you had all these price reductions. And so I think buyers started looking around, realizing I've got a choice again. And I think that little blip in cancels came from that.
There you go. All right. Last article. Sherman's fixing to boom. No pun on fixing to. But Anna's just sitting. I think 75 corridor's been overlooked for a while. And I think you're going to see a lot of opportunity going up that 75 corridor north of McKinney. And you know, back to the buy land t-shirt. That's probably a good area to be buying land, just like buying land was probably great off the tollway 10 years ago, right? It's there will be more and more neighborhoods and stuff like that. I remember, what's that neighborhood in McKinney that's real far north McKinney, the big one, Trinity Falls? No. What's that neighborhood up there?
Mm-hmm.
It's a big master plan community. I can't remember the
Craig Ranch or
no. It's way up north of McKinney. Anyway, I remember going up there going, nobody's gonna live up here. This is so far north. And I still have PTSD of driving on 75 in bumper to bumper traffic. So to me, I remember all that, right? It's sold out. And it just tells me people are willing to move further north to get the house on cheap land. Then they're still moving that. They don't care about the commute as much right now. So I see this, there's opportunity going up 75 for sure.
Yep. Highland
And Aubrey, yeah, all that.
Well, then I'll see how Highland just announced they're starting a development in I'm probably even saying the town wrong, Van Alstyne, which is just, is it
One more time.
No, because I'm gonna turn into a meme. You're gonna turn me into a meme. I just know it.
Okay.
But if you watch that, that's a good indicator of where everything's moving when a builder starts developing in that area.
Well, I think the conversation is one, we want to understand our local real estate market. And a second conversation is, where's the opportunity? Well, sometimes opportunity is not in your backyard. Sometimes it is, but it's usually close by. You just have to understand where population growth is going. I definitely think the 75 corridor. I think the Highway 80 corridor going out Forney, Terrell, all that. I mean, those are two big 10-year population growth corridors right there. So anyway, any last parting thoughts?
I think it just goes back to, I do feel like a broken record sometimes. There was an article I read just giving some advice, and it says a lot of times, anytime there's a shift, a lot of agents freeze and just they just don't know what to do. And so I think leaning in again to what what we have, the advice, what we're advising, coaching, lean into it even more, because there's a lot of agents out there that are going to freeze. And then it's an opportunity to go grab market share.
There you go. Jim, anything you'd add?
Yeah, it's not too late to fill your pipeline. build up your listings, build up your pipeline, and you can insulate yourself from kind of, I think, what this fall and winter market are going to look like, but you're in control.
Perfect.
Sure.
You know, the only last thing that I have is, please meet me at team meeting tomorrow to sit in the back of the room and be very disruptive to whatever's going on. I'm kidding, but, look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow at team meeting. Have a good one.
Thanks, Brett. Bye.